ever feel like education is like the key to unlocking potential, creating fairness and all that?
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Well, Canada's got this program right, and it's causing a real buzz. It's all about supporting First Nations students, making sure they have the same opportunities as everyone else.
Yeah, it's called the Elementary and Secondary Education Program.
And that's what we're diving deep into today. We're going to unpack how it works, why it matters, the whole 9 yards.
And what makes this one really interesting is how it came about. It's not just some top-down government initiative.
Oh, so tell me more about that.
This program is built on collaboration, a real partnership between the Canadian government and First Nations communities. They're working together side by side to make education more equitable on reserves.
Okay, now for those who might not know, can you quickly explain what reserves are?
Sure. So reserves are lands that have been set aside by the government specifically for First Nations people to live and govern themselves.
Gotcha. Thanks for clearing that up. So it's like they're trying to level the playing field when it comes to education on those reserves.
Exactly.
One thing I found really interesting about this program is the whole formula-based funding model. Sounds kind of technical at first, right?
It does, but it's actually designed to be the opposite of complicated when it comes to supporting these schools.
Okay, I'm all ears. Break it down for me.
So in the past, a lot of First Nations communities had to rely on submitting proposals to get funding for their schools.
I see. So they'd be constantly having to justify their needs and hope for the best.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine the uncertainty of that year after year, never really knowing what resources you'd have to work with.
I bet that made long-term planning next to impossible.
Exactly. And that's where this new formula-based system comes in. It changes everything. Now, the funding is more predictable, more consistent.
So the schools know what they're getting. That's huge.
Huge. It means they can actually plan for the future, hire more teachers, and create amazing programs. Really focus on what matters, giving their students the best possible education.
That makes so much sense. It's like you can't build a house if you don't even know if you'll have enough bricks, right? Seems like this program is really changing that narrative.
Absolutely. And the best part is, this isn't just about keeping the lights on in these schools. We're talking about a fundamental shift in how we approach First Nations education.
So it's more than just the money then. It sounds like they're trying to take a more holistic approach with this program.
You got it. The elementary and secondary education program takes a really holistic approach. And one of the things they really highlight is support for students with disabilities.
Okay, now that's what I'm talking about. Making sure that every student has the chance to succeed no matter what.
Precisely. And it recognizes that a one-size-fits-all approach to education doesn't work for everyone. Some students might need extra support. Like a student with a learning disability might need specialized resources or a different teaching approach altogether. This program helps make sure they're not being overlooked.
That's so important. I mean, we all learn in different ways, right? Some of us are visual learners, others learn best by doing. It sounds like this program gets that and is trying to make education work for everyone.
It's about recognizing that every student has unique needs and deserves a truly inclusive learning environment.
No, I'm curious about the logistics of it all. How does this funding actually work in practice? We've talked about this formula, but what does that actually look like?
Well, imagine a direct line from the government to the First Nations communities themselves or to organizations they've chosen to work with.
So the funding goes straight to where it's needed most.
Exactly, and the amount of funding they receive.
Mm.
It's all based on the number of eligible students enrolled in their schools. They call it a streamlined approach.
Makes sense. More students mean more needs, more resources required. I like how they're cutting through the red tape. But is there like a whole application process? Do they have to jump through hoops to get this funding?
That's the great thing. There isn't a complicated application process like you might think. It's not like applying for a grant where you're writing a novel just to prove you need the money.
Okay, so it's not a free-for-all. There's still some accountability built in.
Absolutely. For a student to be eligible, they have to be registered at the school, and they actually have to show up.
Keeps everyone honest. I like it.
They even do an official student count, to make sure everything lines up.
When do they do that?
It's on the last instructional day of September every year.
Wow. Okay, so they're really making sure the funding is going exactly where it needs to go. No funny business.
Right. And to keep things transparent, they actually update the program guidelines every single year.
So everyone's on the same page.
Yeah, exactly.
What I really appreciate about this whole program is that it's cutting through the red tape. You so often hear about these big initiatives, and they sound great on paper, but then they get bogged down in bureaucracy and it's like, what's the point, you know?
Totally. And I think what's really exciting about this one is how it's designed to create a ripple effect. It's not just about putting a Band-Aid on the problem. They're really thinking long-term, investing in a future where these communities can thrive.
Yeah, that's what struck me when I was watching that video, but the program, it wasn't just about like the dollars and cents, it was about possibilities. Like it really painted this picture of a brighter future for these students.
Right. It's about so much more than just money. It's about giving these kids the tools they need, to shape their own futures, to chase their dreams.
And when you empower individuals like that, it impacts the whole community, right?
Absolutely. It's about building a more inclusive Canada where everyone has the chance to succeed, no matter who they are or where they come from.
This program really highlights the power of education. It's not just about numbers on a spreadsheet. It's about opportunity. It's about breaking down barriers.
It's about investing in people.
Exactly. And it really makes you wonder, what other steps can we take? What other changes can we fight for to make sure that every First Nations student has the support they need to succeed?
Now, those are questions worth asking.
They really are. Well, folks, there you have it, a deep dive into Canada's elementary and secondary education program for First Nations students.
It's a fascinating program.
Really shows you what's possible when we prioritize collaboration, listen to the needs of communities, and dare to believe in the power of education to make a difference.
Could have said it better myself.
Some food for thought as we head into the weekend. Until next time, keep those brainwaves buzzing.